Hello everyone, my name is Larry Morgan, CEO of RL Liquidators, and in this video I will be discussing a very challenging topic, the true cost of returns. Retailers have long understood the cost of goods associated with their forward sales channels. However, the rapidly rising rate of returns has left many scrambling to understand the modified cost of goods associated with those returns, and the impact that has to their company's bottom line. While I can provide no simple formula to calculate the cost of returns, I can suggest some costs you may not have considered and mention a couple strategies to reduce them. First, let's look at shipping costs. Items for your forward sales channels arrive in bulk, often by the truckload. Shipping costs per item are subsequently very low. Returns arrive one at a time, with shipping costs that are many, many times higher. For brick and mortar retailers, this is lessened by the fact that customers bring returns in themselves, but for online retailers, this cost is astronomical. Having already paid to ship the item twice, once to you in the form of a bulk order and once to your customer in a much smaller order, returns require you to ship it a third time, shipping it back to yourself again. Two of these three shipping costs are the high cost of shipping items one at a time. As online return rates average approximately 30%, this third shipping cost can be devastating. Once an item is returned, both online and brick and mortar retailers share the same problems and associated costs. An employee must be paid to physically handle the return and make a decision about what to do with it. Items that are new and unopened are fairly easy to process. We'll discuss fraud another time. But studies have shown that less than half of all returned items are ever resold at full price. That means half or more must go through some form of an extended decision-making process. This requires the initial expense of creating a process and the ongoing expenses associated with staffing, monitoring, and enforcing it. There is also the cost of the space required to process returns. A recent study found that distribution centers across a number of companies are dedicating as much as 20% of their warehouse space to processing and storing returns. As return rates continue to rise in brick and mortar stores, their average return rate is approaching double digits. They find themselves with the same problem, having to carve out store space for processing returns. Combined, these costs can be staggering, and we haven't even started to talk about the really big question: what do you do with all the stuff once you get it back? Attempting to create a program to resell returns costs even more in process, development, space, staffing, monitoring, and enforcement, not to mention the potential impact on existing sales and your brand image. We repeatedly see one commonality in companies that attempt to create sales channels for their returns. They spend far more on the sales channels themselves than they ever make selling the returns. The end result is consistently increasing the loss that returns generate rather than decreasing it. Donating or destroying the returns still adds other layers of cost to administer those programs and prevents any possibility of recapturing value. Some of the costs associated with returns are beyond your control, but many are not. Like anything else, focusing on what you can control consistently produces the best results. The two most common controllable factors and the easiest to impact are first, switching from a return policy to a return strategy aimed at reducing return rates. Second, partnering with a reputable liquidation company to process returns on your behalf so they and their associated costs never reach your facilities.